The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Okay, welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
We're going to close out the show talking about some MLB free agency, and there was a trade today, Ryan Risky, that involved Andrelton Simmons.
And the Angels, the Braves traded Andrelton Simmons, who's arguably the best defensive shortstop in the game. He's kind of like the Kevin Kiermaier of the infield.
Yeah, that's true. I love Kevin Kiermaier.
Both of them have historically good defensive seasons. So, the Angels got a really good defender with some power in his bat. He needs to, get the average higher. And they got him for 5 years, and then like the Angels always do, they trade their top prospects that they draft every year the next offseason.
Yeah, that's kind of a shame.
That's why they have the worst farm system, because everyone they draft, they always trade away.
Yeah, pretty much. Now
they're in such win-now mode, you can feel the desperation.
Right.
And they're probably not going to win a World Series.
Now, of course, there's a lot of free agent pitchers on the market, and it'll be really interesting, especially in later this month and into December when they actually start to make some of these transactions. It'll be interesting to see where Greinke ends up, where Price ends up, where Zimmerman ends up, and the list just goes on and on.
I have a feeling Greinke's staying with the Dodgers.
I think he has said that he wants to stay.
I have a feeling he's going to talk to other teams just to try to make the Dodgers pay more money to keep him.
Yeah, you might as well. The interesting one is David Price. Does he want to stay in Toronto? I don't know.
I don't even see any of these pitchers wanting to go to Toronto.
I know. I think I was reading in my Sports Illustrated, they were saying, what team has the best chance of getting a certain player, and they actually think that the Yankees have a chance of snagging David Price. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't expect them to hand out a mega deal like that. I think they could probably are the front runners for Samardzija.
Yeah, they're sort of a team that could get a guy like Samardzija. Even the Cubs.
Samardzija seems like the Yankees have been rumored to be in on him for a while, and Samardzija's talked about New York a lot.
And when Jordan Zimmerman's name came up, Sports Illustrated thinks that he's going to the Cubs, which a lot of people have thought that that's a perfect fit, especially now that Washington is transitioning into not really sure what's going to happen mode. Jordan Zimmerman would probably be smart to go back to the Midwest and go play for the Cubs. He grew up, I don't think he grew up a Cubs fan, he probably grew up a Brewers fan, but he's from Wisconsin, so he's not too far away.
Yeah, it would have to depend on the price for Jordan Zimmerman, just because, I don't know, last year he was giving up a lot of home runs, his strikeout rates went down, he's given up more hits.
Yeah, I agree. He had a bad year.
He was walking more guys. There has to be like a limit you're willing to put on Jordan Zimmerman. Now, if this is the Jordan Zimmerman of the season before, then he's going to be worth maybe the $150 million. Except at this point, I just think he's one of those red flag pitchers.
It depends how much. Of course, it all comes down to the price. How much are the Nationals willing to spend to re-sign him? How much are the Cubs willing to throw out there?
Well, I think he's already leaving the Nationals. His agent already wrote a thank you letter to the Nationals.
Okay.
So I think he's gone. The thing that he does cost is a draft pick, and the Cubs value those picks. That's why David Price would be more likely, because they don't have to give up a draft pick to sign him. Same with Johnny Cueto, who I read that the Cubs don't have much interest in.
No, if I was the Cubs, I don't think I'd have much interest in Cueto either. I would rather go after some of the other guys. Who are some of the other guys? There's Mike Leake, who's available.
See, that's what I want them to do, is to sign like a Mike Leake and then make a trade for like a big pitcher. Like a Sonny Gray, Tyson Ross, Carlos Carrasco.
I'd love any one of those, but I think my guy would be Sonny Gray.
Yeah, well, it also depends. You might have to give up a Soler for Sonny Gray.
Right. And
except then, if they were to sign Alex Gordon, then you could kind of live with it. It's just I don't think Soler's value is as high as it's going to get, because with the way he hit in the postseason last year makes me think that he took a massive step forward in terms of development.
The problem with Alex Gordon is he only is going to play left field, right?
Yeah, except he's the best defensive left fielder in the game.
Right. So does that mean Schwarber moves to right if they do end up?
That's the thing that because if they sign Alex Gordon,
and who's playing center?
Yeah.
If they don't re-sign Fowler.
Well, they would have to sign a Denard Spanner trade for someone, because
right.
So none of those guys can. They'd have to trade Soler. Probably they'd have to trade Soler if they sign Gordon, because what are you going to do? Gordon and Schwarber definitely can't play center. Neither can Soler.
And then you start looking at maybe Chris Bryant will have to play the outfield. I mean, that's another possibility.
Right. If they sign Alex Gordon, someone is going to get traded.
Right.
And now my dream scenario, this won't happen, would be for them to trade for Kevin Kiermaier, which that won't happen because he has like 5 years of club control left.
Yeah, that and Tampa Bay is a pretty smart organization. I don't think they'd part with such a great young talent like Kiermaier.
But not without getting something like Soler in return.
Right. I do agree with you that would be awesome and amazing because I love Kevin Kiermaier.
Because he's a center fielder. That would solve the center field problem.
You remember on my birthday he was doing like those stretches right in front of us?
Right in front of us,
and
he said hi to everyone there.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, he was a really nice guy. He also, I think he ended up hitting a home run. Everyone on the Rays roster hit a home run that game, pretty much. But,
oh, yeah, a bunch of guys hitting like 150 were hitting home runs off a sale.
That guy, Matt Matuk or whatever his name.
Matuk.
Yeah. I was talking about how good he was, and then his average came up, and I was like, oh, I guess he's not that good. But then he hit a home run that game.
Home run.
But I would love to see Kevin Kiermaier. And then, of course, there's also rumors about Jason Hayward. I'm not sure if that'll ever happen.
I don't see it happening because pitching's more of a priority. And Theo said they're not handing out $200 million deals.
Right, and you don't really want to at this stage in the game. I mean, you do have a pretty solid outfield, at least production-wise. They may not be the best defensively, but they sure are good offensively, and they can make up for their defensive mistakes. The thing is, I don't know if they're going to re-sign Fowler. Fowler's probably going to test the free agent market, which he probably already has.
Colby Rasmus accepted a qualifying offer. He's the first player to ever do that.
Oh, really? He did?
I think he realized that he's not that good and that he'd rather get more money this time.
Hey, he's in a pretty good situation.
Well, I think he also knew that no one's going to give him $16 million a year.
No, he's not the Colby Rasmus from St. Louis and Toronto. He's not nearly as good, but he's in a pretty good situation down in Houston, so that's a pretty good situation for him. Yeah, and then as far as the White Sox are concerned, they could look a lot different too. They're going to look even more different than the Cubs potentially.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what the White Sox are going to do? I mean, the thing is, Rick Hahn was saying they're going to win the World Series after they had two massive holes in the rotation, a not that great bullpen, no catcher, no third baseman.
No second baseman.
They don't have a shortstop now. If you plug Tyler Saladino in at short or third, that's pretty much saying you're giving up on the season.
Looking at that division, it's going to be Kansas City again. I mean, there's no reason why Kansas City shouldn't run away with that division again. Maybe Cleveland will hang around finally. Maybe they'll finish in second.
It'll be interesting to see how Kansas City is without Alex Gordon, because I'm sure he's gone.
Yeah, and he's he was sort of the guy that was there from day one. He's sort of like after the Cubs win a World Series, he'll sort of be like the Anthony Rizzo or Starlin Castro, like the guy that was there from the beginning, built it all the way up.
I have a feeling that Castro's going to be the first to go for the Cubs that were there when it started.
I would think so, unless the Cubs involve a trade that includes Javier Baez, then you're going to want to hold on to Starlin Castro.
Yeah, maybe the Cubs can package Castro in like a deal for Kiermaier.
That would be something I'd be all for that.
The Rays could use a middle infielder.
The Rays could, and Castro did prove that he has the ability to be a pretty darn good player.
And second baseman.
Yeah, and he played pretty well defensively, too.
Package Castro and maybe some deal, add in a couple pitchers from your minor league
C.J. Edwards, possibly.
Yeah, I wouldn't
go
that far. I'd say Castro's the main headliner. Maybe throw in a couple pitchers that are maybe on your top 30 list, and then maybe a position, like on maybe an outfield or two, and try to package them for Kiermaier, because if they were to be able to acquire him, that would solve their center field problem for a long time.
Yeah, it definitely would.
Because he has some power. He's going to hit for a decent average. He plays historically good defense.
And while I like Dexter Fowler and I would love for them to resign, he's going to get more money somewhere else.
Yeah, I'd say the Cubs should have a budget for him, 5 years, 50. We'll pay you maybe $11 or $12 million a year. That's the max we're willing to go.
And we know the untouchables. The untouchables are Schwarber,
Rizzo and Bryant,
Rizzo and Bryant, and Russell. I mean, everyone else conceivably could be traded.
Castro or Baez, one of those two.
Even Soler is a candidate.
Yeah, Soler, I mean, depending on what they do, if they sign an Alex Gordon or a Jason Hayward, they'll have to trade Soler because they don't have anyone that can play center.
For me, the one thing that they're really going to have to work on, maybe not next year, but it's definitely got to be a priority, is the catcher position. Because Montero's not getting any younger.
At the end of the year,
Schwarber has sort of proven, now unless he does some really nice work in spring training and they feel like he's ready to start, but he shouldn't be the starting catcher this upcoming season. I wouldn't assume.
I've kind of fallen off of the Montero train. It's at the end of last year, all these balls are getting away from him. What
happened was that injury, and then he was pretty bad after he came back from that injury.
In the playoffs, it seemed like every at-bat he was striking on a pitch high up in the zone because he couldn't catch up to it because his bat's so heavy.
Mm-hmm. So that's something you really gonna have to look at. Now they do have some prospects that are pretty good, and hopefully you can hold on to them and not trade them away because they could be pretty good.
Right,
at the catcher
Wilson,
spot.
Contreras. That's the thing with Montero. I just felt like his defense at the end of the year was not good. I mean, remember that Cahill breaking ball that got away in Game 3 of the NLCS, which Cahill's a guy that should absolutely be a priority to be re-signed.
I agree. He was so good.
Before last year, he was never throwing in the mid to high 90s until Chris Bosio did some work, striking guys out, throwing in the mid to high 90s. He should be priority to be re-signed.
And that's why, he's great. Chris Bosio, he's done a tremendous job. So, I got to give props to him. He's really helped the pitching staff. He's the reason why Jake Arrieta's where he's at now. He's the reason why somebody like Kyle Hendricks could actually be a pretty good number 4 or 5 pitcher.
Now, speaking of Jake Arrieta, Scott Boras had an odd interview with a couple reporters. It wasn't like his normal one. Yeah. It wasn't like his normal one. He didn't have that arrogant look or sounding arrogant. He's just I think the Cubs and are pleased with Jake, and Jake is pleased with being with the Cubs. So when asked about a contract, he's it was like he had the optimistic sound that the Cubs are going to give Arrieta an extension before he hit free agency. So Theo must have made it clear we want to keep him.
Well, clearly we do want to keep him, and he's not. Going anywhere.
It isn't like Boras, we'll, like the usual. We'll see where it goes from there. He had that optimistic sound that he thought there was going to be a deal that got done.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that all pans out. Before the new year rings, we'll see a couple Cubs deals go down, I'm sure. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight on the Sports Renegades. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff today. We talked about the Bulls and the NBA, Blackhawks. We talked about the Bears. We gave our picks. And we ended the show talking about some MLB free agency and everything. So hopefully you'll stick around for next week's show. And we'll also probably talk, you'll see, DePaul has their first game Saturday downtown at their campus, not at the new arena. They're still 2 seasons away from that, but they'll have the first game. Hopefully it'll be a win. I think they're playing Western Michigan. There's no reason why they shouldn't win that.
Right,
but they probably will lose it.
In Thursday night football action, with just under 7 minutes to go in the first quarter, the game is tied at 0.
It could be like that for a while.
It could be like that for a while because the Jets have the ball at their own 23.
All right, we'll talk to you all next week. Have a good night. The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.